Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to have a quick look at BEPRO. I'm going to break down what I think would be the good time to buy it for some considerable returns, and the safest place and safest time to buy it, I suppose. So if we go back too far on the chart, it looks like this, because we've got a stupid sort of ridiculous wick that starts off basically a single Bitcoin. You know, what a fall from grace that would have been. Whether you take that seriously, I don't know what happened there. So we have to kind of be careful about how we zoom the charts in. So our support trend line, horizontal one, goes back quite a far distance, really, back into May 2020 and before. We had dips below there, and we had a major breakdown from that level, but prior to that it had held up okay. So when we finally recovered from there, we used that as a platform to build upon on that major pullback before it went and did an enormous rally from here. Once it was reclaimed and retested, an 800% rally, you know, from the bottom wick to the top wick. So it's massive deal, you know, massive deal. Since then, it's obviously not been able to do anything like that, and what we've got here is a giant. We'll just measure it from the candle bodies, a giant consolidation, right? Which was really needed. Obviously, this I had mates of mine that were trading this, or should I say buying into it. Some of them were using bot trading on it actually, which worked out quite well in the short term, but generally it ended in tears, and it was all driven by a lot of Reddit groups and stuff like that, almost like a memes kind of meme stock kind of vibe, really. It basically went parabolic beyond all sane price action, really, and it retraced with its Bitcoin value to the tune of 90%. So obviously that's no good. It was a lot more than that. Well, I say a lot more. About 90. It was more than 95 versus tether pairing, 90% versus Bitcoin. So one of the biggest retraces of last year that I can recall. And we were looking at it. We were focused on it because it was on my radar. Obviously, it's something that I had missed prior to all of that, and I have this theory, which sometimes works out, more often than not, that something's been volatile in the past. When it finds its bottom, a volatility like that, price will come back into it again. Maybe not to such a large extent, and to an extent that was right. So the consolidation ended, and in classic accumulation style, it found its bottom, which was more or less being supported on this major horizontal trend line, and this gave us the opportunity. Not that I took advantage of it, I have to say, to possibly buy the absolute bottom. For those who did, it would have only really been relevant on the Bitcoin pair. On the tether pairing, it's not as clear. So the Bitcoin pairing more or less got the bottom that was pretty much spelled out quite easily and simply for us to recognise. For those who looked, like I say, I didn't buy it here. I bought it on this retest. But yeah, for those who did, they would have, within the space of a 2-week period, 280% versus their Bitcoin pair, and versus tether pair, it was over 400. So a really nice move there. Bloody phone. So yeah, a really nice move there for those who saw that. It went on to make another little high, and then since then it's been consolidating yet again. So we'll just put this consolidation trend line in. Let's move this over a bit. Consolidation trend line in again. So we've got another consolidation trend line, essentially like a descending wedge, similar to this one, not quite as aggressive, but this one's taking longer because the market again is consolidating, and it takes these things down with it. So now we've approached this this horizontal level of support. So you might think, well, I could be in it to win it, and I could try buying at the support. And we had a good reaction from that level yesterday, which was one of the reasons I thought I was going to make this video yesterday, but I didn't really have the time. So yeah, we had a wick down here, all the way down here, to a wick all the way up there. Is close to a 40% move, which is pretty good, but we're still within this. It's a consolidation pattern. Let's just call it that. We're not talking triangles. It's a consolidation pattern. We've got a strong level of resistance. We've got what would appear to be a strong level of support, but there is a chance, like there was before, that we break down from here. And this might not look much, but this is pretty devastating in itself, So we hit from there to there. It's an 86% retracement. So some supports can give, the illusion of safety, but they're not particularly safe, and this has always been my concern with BEPRO buying into it, which is why I said I need to wait for an uptrend to begin on this, because just looking at this chart can give a false sense of security of buying a support. And again, I was watching this all the way down, and I didn't take advantage of that because I was afraid, because things can get considerably worse. So again, we're within this consolidation pattern again. So that for those who want to risk more than is generally required, you could try buying the support. We've had a good reaction from there in the past, and maybe that leads to a breakout, and that leads to the next big major rally. We could be talking 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, that's 1,000%, you know. We could be talking all of that. All of that is, you know, possible with something like BEPRO. It's done it in the past. It could do it again. I don't know much about the technology, but it seems that every time I make a video on BEPRO, people like to explain to me how amazing the technology is, whatever it does. So just judging by the passion of the comments, maybe there is some value on a fundamental level, but on a chart basis, it's got a relatively easy way to trade it, really, which is that to avoid, you know, possible death by red candle, you would wait for, you know, us to creep out into a consolidation ending, into a accumulation, and then see, hopefully, if we still remain on this support, and then that would be a more appropriate time to try and buy it, even though there is still considerable risk here, because, you know, 86% last time we broke down below it. This doesn't have to hold, but at least this time there won't be a resistance above us, you know. At least we won't be technically in a downtrend. I mean, we could still be in a downtrend in the overall market, we could still be downtrending. This is only a BEPRO chart. It's going to be vulnerable to whatever's going on with Bitcoin, most likely. But if you wanted to trade it, or think about the safest way to trade it, you would wait for this to break. Whether it breaks out at the bottom, retests the bottom like it did last time, which would be amazing. That would be a definite trade worthy of trying to take. Obviously, the risk in something like this is quite high, which is why I call it nasty names. There's no disrespect to the coin or to the developers or anything. It's in relation to the amount of risk that you're putting into a chart, which has considerable risk with considerable reward attached to it. So you've got to obviously think about what you're looking to gain as well as how much you're looking to lose. You can obviously, you know, manage your risk with stop losses and things like that, but if we're talking spot trades specifically, stop losses aren't as efficient, especially when the order books are thin. And they're not massively thin, but they're not high. And if we would continue with the downtrend, they'll get thinner, and stop losses might not be, they might not work, basically, because they're all to do with orders being filled as well. So they might just miss your order, especially if this dumps by a flash crash by 20, 25, 30% or something like that, just out of the blue, bang, you know, your order's not going to get filled, or partially filled at least. So there is risk to it, which is why I often call it by its naughty name. But I'll reserve that now, because there's a setup in waiting here. So, and again, what I'm talking about is in waiting. So I on my live streams, I often try and use the analogy of, you know, how big and tough and callous are your testicles. You know, do you have big, sturdy balls? And if you do, then feel free to try and buy this support. But if you have, you know, moderate sized, you know, tender ones like mine, or a little smaller, then you would wait for the wait for this consolidation to at least be marked as over, because, you know, wherever we trade on this one, we are still within it. Obviously, you could break out. That is a hopium trade. Like I say, if you've got the big balls, you go, I'm pretty confident this is going to work out. We're going to go straight through this, you know, this resistance, and we're going to go straight up, and all of that is possible, obviously. Yeah, but if you were looking to trade this with a bit more, or maybe just instant gratification, to be honest with you, rather than waiting around for what looks to be like maybe best part of a month or two for this formation to at least reach its end. Yeah, we're talking March. We're talking beginning of March, really. So over a month, really, about 6-7 weeks for this formation to come to the end of its apex, which it might actually do, or it could even break down, and, you know, worst case scenario, you've got the big balls and you can hopefully sustain a good kicking in them, because that's what's likely to happen if we break down below there before the end of the apex. Yeah, so it's worth thinking about having this on your on your favourites list, you know, and looking at this formation and keeping it in the crosshairs, ready to pull the trigger on it. For those who have, you know, balls the same size of mine, I'll be waiting until, you know, March, or at least to see if we get a breakout prior to that. Well, it's unlikely that we'll break straight out of here, I have to say. It's more likely that if we did break out of here, we'd have a retest. These moving averages would creep out, and then we could think about buying it on a retest of some of the moving averages, perhaps. That'd be okay. Obviously, you didn't buy the bottom, but you'd still be looking for a decent move. There's no reason to suggest that this wouldn't surpass its most recent high. And if you think about measuring this from the measured move, you take the support and the mouth, and let's just say we broke out over here, that would go on to make a a nice move, and if you bought the retest over here, let's just say, this is all very speculative, but let's just say the moving averages got retested, and you bought around this level after the breakout, measure that up to the measured move, you'd still be looking at, you know, a sizable move over, you know, close to a 200%. Again, highly speculative because we don't know where it's going to break out or if it will break out at all. But BEPRO is definitely something to watch, you know, on a chart basis. Like I say, I know nothing about the tech, so feel free to enlighten me in the comments. But yeah, it's a good setup, I think. Here is just one that's going to take weeks, maybe a couple of months for it to go into what I would consider a safe enough entry point. Whether we're higher than this or come back down to the support, the consolidation needs to end just like this one needed to end, and we got pretty good and almost immediate gratification from that trade as well. So yeah. And again, just to reiterate, I didn't take the trade at the bottom. I'm not trying to make out that I am awesome or anything like that. I've got some BEPRO that I bought on the way up, and obviously, for the record, I'm negative in that trade. You know, at the moment, I'm down on it. So I'm by no means advocating this as, you know, a get rich quick or a millionaire starter kit, or trying to make myself out as some epic trader. I'm just trying to explain to you that, you know, if we judge this on the way that it's worked before, we don't necessarily need to miss out to such a large extent, as I did on the first run. Right, hopefully that made sense. Right, I'm gonna leave it with you there, guys. Keep your eyes on BEPRO. Don't go crazy unless your balls are massive. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and take it easy.